The resort of no return, inside Thai's tourist death trap. They call it paradise. White sand beaches, coconut palms swaying gently in the ocean breeze. The kind of place travel brochures promise will heal your soul, where the sunsets melt into the sea like liquid gold. Thailand, the jewel of Southeast Asia, a country that welcomes millions of tourists each year, each one chasing the dream of escape. But for some, paradise becomes a nightmare. For some, a dream vacation ends in death. And here's the chilling part. The more you dig, the more you find a disturbing pattern. Mysterious accidents, unexplained suicides, suspicious drownings, tourists who arrive alive and full of life, only to leave in a coffin. Tonight, we open a new file, a file we call the Resort of No Return. It starts on a small island in the Gulf of Thailand, a place so beautiful, so picture-perfect. It has earned the nickname, the Turtle Island. But to those who know the stories, to those who've read the headlines, it carries a far darker name. Koh Tao, the island that the international press has dubbed Death Island. Since 2014, Koh Tao has been stained with a series of chilling cases. Unsolved murders, unexplained deaths, and an eerie silence from those in power. The first case that truly shook the world was the brutal murder of two British backpackers, Hannah Witheridge and David Miller. Their bodies were discovered on the beach. Hannah had been assaulted. Both were bludgeoned to death. The island's paradise image shattered overnight. But what followed in the years after was even more disturbing. A string of deaths, each one wrapped in mystery. A young French tourist found hanging in a jungle bungalow. Officials called it suicide. His family called it impossible. A Belgian woman discovered dead in the forest, her body partially burned. Authorities suggested she took her own life, but investigators noticed her injuries didn't match. A British backpacker found floating near the pier, face down in the water. Police claimed it was drowning. Friends claimed it didn't add up. One after another, the deaths piled up. Each time, questions were raised. Each time, answers never came. And soon, a chilling narrative began to take form. Koh Tao wasn't just another island getaway. It was a tourist trap, in the deadliest sense of the word. But here's the unsettling truth. Koh Tao is not alone. Across Thailand, similar cases appear, each one echoing the same themes of paradise lost and lives cut short. Take Phuket. In May 2025, two Australian tourists drowned within days of each other in separate incidents. Officials warned of dangerous currents, but locals whispered about the lack of lifeguards, the absence of warning signs, the kind of negligence that turns accidents into statistics. Or Pattaya, where nightlife thrives, but so do the dangers. Bar fights, balcony falls, mysterious poisonings, tourists who checked into luxury hotels and never checked out. Thailand is marketed as the land of smiles. But behind the smiles, there's a darker undercurrent, one that some families only discover when it's too late. Imagine this. You've saved for years for your dream holiday. You book the resort. You land at the airport, greeted by warm air and brighter skies. You unpack your bags, slip into swimwear, step into paradise. But as night falls, danger lurks where you least expect it. An unsecured balcony, a road with no streetlights, an ocean current stronger than any swimmer, or worse, a predator watching from the shadows. By morning, your name is in the news, and the local police have already written your death off as an accident. The question that haunts every case is simple. Are these truly accidents, or is there something darker at play? For families, the nightmare isn't just losing a loved one. It's the silence that follows. Investigations cut short, evidence left behind, cases closed without answers. On Koh Tao, this silence is deafening. Some travelers whisper about cover-ups. Others suspect powerful figures protecting their interests. And as more bodies are found, the island's reputation only grows darker. How does a paradise keep its secrets buried? How do resorts continue to thrive when their guests vanish into mystery? The story of Thailand's tourist death trap is not just about numbers. It's about people. Young lives full of promise, snuffed out far from home. Parents left waiting at airports, not for hugs, but for caskets. Each story different, each ending the same. A chilling reminder that in paradise, danger doesn't always knock at the door. Sometimes it's already waiting inside. And yet, tourists keep coming. Because the brochures don't mention the deaths. The travel agencies don't whisper about the mysteries. And the resorts, they keep their doors wide open. Which raises a question for you, the viewer. Would you dare to book a stay knowing the risks? Would you walk the beaches of Koh Tao, knowing how many never returned? Or would you choose another paradise? One where the smiles aren't hiding secrets? We've set the stage. We've opened the door to the mysteries that haunt Thailand's beaches. But the most disturbing details, the individual cases, the patterns, the chilling coincidences, those are still to come. We will take you deeper into the stories that families begged the world not to forget, into the unanswered questions, and into the shadows of paradise itself. But before we continue, one request. If you believe these stories deserve to be heard, if you want to shine a light on the mysteries the brochures will never tell you, then subscribe, share, and join us. Because together we keep these cases alive. This is not just a story. This is a warning, and it's far from over. Stay with us. The stories turned a tropical dream into a family's eternal nightmare. Because here's the truth. Every statistic hides a human being, and every headline hides a grieving family, left with questions that may never be answered. Let's begin with the case that shattered Koh Tao's reputation. September 2014. Hannah Witheridge, 23. David Miller, 24. Two British backpackers, strangers before the island, found dead together on a moonlit beach. The brutality was shocking. Hannah had been assaulted, both beaten beyond recognition. It looked like the work of rage or of someone determined to silence them. Within weeks, two Burmese migrant workers were arrested, convicted, sentenced to death. Case closed, or so the authorities claimed. But from the start, the trial was surrounded by doubt. Allegations of forced confessions, missing evidence, political pressure to protect the island's tourism. Even today, many believe the wrong men were punished, and the real killers walk free. But the story doesn't end there. In fact, it was just the beginning. 2015. Christina Annesley, 23, from the UK, found dead in a bungalow on Koh Tao. The cause? Officials claimed it was a mix of antibiotics and alcohol. But her family insisted Christina was healthy, vibrant, and careful. Her parents never received a full autopsy report. To this day, they believe the truth of what happened that night will never be known. 2016. Elise Dalemain, 30, from Belgium. Her body was found in the jungle, partially burned, wrapped in fabric. Authorities claimed suicide. Her family screamed otherwise. They said Elise was spiritual, yes, but not suicidal. She had written a fear of people following her. Her injuries, they claimed, didn't match the story. But the case was quickly closed. 2018. Luke Miller, 26, from the Isle of Wight, found dead in a pool at a resort. Police ruled it drowning. Friends insisted he was not drunk, not reckless, and something darker had happened. And on it goes. Names, dates, lives cut short, each one an echo of the last, each one a family left behind. Patterns began to emerge. First, the deaths were often written off quickly: suicides, drownings, accidents. Second, families reported inconsistencies, missing evidence, rushed investigations, unanswered questions. And third, all of it happened in one of the most heavily promoted tourist paradises in the world. The island needed to keep its image. The tourists had to keep coming. And so, the cases were buried as fast as the bodies. But Koh Tao isn't alone. Other corners of Thailand carry the same darkness. Phuket, Freedom Beach, May 2025. Two Australian tourists, strangers to each other, drowned within days, both swept out by violent currents. Local authorities warned of dangerous waters, but families asked why there were no lifeguards. why there were no signs, why paradise had no safety net. Pattaya, a city where neon lights disguise shadowy corners. A tourist falls from a balcony. Another is found poisoned after a night of drinking. Police reports write them off as accidents, but witnesses whisper of fights, robberies, foul play, and here lies the haunting truth. Thailand records more tourist deaths than almost any other destination in the world. Alcohol, drugs, motorbike crashes. Yes, some are tragic accidents, but some fit the same chilling mold as Koh Tao. Mysterious, suspicious, brushed aside. The families left behind share the same nightmare. A phone call in the middle of the night. A flight halfway across the world. And when they arrive, they're not given answers. They're given ashes. No justice, no closure, only silence. Why does this happen? Some point to corruption, powerful interests who don't want tourism numbers to drop. Some point to incompetence, poorly trained investigators, no resources for proper autopsies. Others whisper about organized crime, about resorts and bars controlled by figures in the shadows. And yet, the truth remains elusive. The truth, it seems, is buried as deeply as the victims themselves. What makes it worse is the way paradise hides its secrets. The glossy brochures, the travel agencies, the influencers, they sell only the beauty, the smiles, the sunsets. They don't tell you about Hannah and David. They don't tell you about Christina, Elise, Luke. They don't tell you that some resorts in Thailand have a one-way reputation. Guests check in, but fate decides if they ever check out. And so the cycle continues. New tourists arrive, old cases fade, and the island of death keeps its silence. But silence doesn't mean safety, because every year more names are added, more families weep, and more questions go unanswered. This is the danger of paradise. It lures you in with beauty, but sometimes beauty kills. So the question is, would you take the risk? Would you book the ticket knowing how many never returned? Would you walk the beaches of Koh Tao knowing how many bodies have been found there? Would you swim in Phuket's waters knowing how many drowned with no warning signs? Or would you stay away knowing that paradise might be a death trap? This is the resort of no return. A file still open, a mystery still unsolved, and maybe a warning. If you want these stories to stay alive, if you believe the victims deserve to be remembered, and the truth deserves to be told, then join us. Subscribe, share, be part of this search for answers. Because in a world where paradise hides its darkest secrets, the only way to fight silence is with a voice. And tonight, that voice is yours.